Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
On the night of March 11th, 2017, Randall Crosby was working his normal shift at a Walgreens in Tampa, Florida. It was later into the evening. He was outside in the parking lot around 9 p.m. when he noticed something odd taking place. From a dark blue Saturn Outlook, a woman emerged with a blanket wrapped around her. She screamed, "Help me," multiple times. Crosby noticed as the blanket fell away from her, her hands were tied behind her back. As she continued to scream for help, and as Crosby was attempting to figure out what to do, a man rushed from inside the store to the woman in the parking lot. Perhaps another Good Samaritan? No. The man approached the woman and, to Crosby's shock, put her back in the vehicle, got into the driver's seat, and started to drive off. It was 9:05 p.m. Crosby called 911 and spoke with the local Tampa police, detailing what was happening as the car quietly drove away. The blanket that the female had been wrapped in was left behind.
They had a Walgreens and Fish Hawk, and some chick just ran out of the dude's car. Looked like her hands were tied. She ran out of the car. She couldn't help me. He just grabbed her and put her back in the car.
Crosby was now attempting to search for the car. During his on-foot pursuit, he discovered another piece of evidence in the middle of the road.
At the corner of Fish Hawk and she dropped a shirt.
The cameras in the Walgreens parking lot captured the license plate. Unbeknownst to Crosby or even Tampa police at the time, what he had just witnessed wasn't the beginning of a kidnapping, but rather one that had been going on for almost 12 hours.
Between March 11th of 2017 and March 13th of 2017, Alisa Summers thought she was living out the last few days of her life.
The license plate would reveal not only was this a serious situation, but it could potentially turn deadly. Police needed to act fast. This is Jillian, and in partnership with Law and Crime, you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 215. When police ran the license plate from the dark blue Saturn Outlook, they found that it belonged to 37-year-old Alisa Summers. They went to the address connected to the car and to Alisa, and they found 5 children, ranging from ages 3 to 14 years old, alone in the home. When deputies inquired about where their mother was, the children said that their parents were in the middle of a divorce, that they lived separately but had been trying to work things out. Earlier that day, both parents disappeared. It was now Saturday night, and the children had not heard from them all day. As investigators dug further into the Summers family, they discovered that the divorce proceedings from the 16-year marriage weren't going smoothly. In fact, just weeks prior, on February 21st, Alisa had filed for and was granted a protective order against her soon-to-be ex-husband, Trevor. In the filing, Alisa claimed that a discussion over the divorce settlement had turned so violent that Trevor had held her against her will for several hours, binding her with duct tape and rope, and threatening her with a machete or long knife. The report stated that Alisa said she had escaped hours later, called the cops, and waited at a nearby gas station for them to respond. At the time, no arrest was made. And on February 22nd, the day following the alleged incident, Trevor filed an injunction of his own against Alisa. He cited that the events she described from the previous day were fabricated. But now Alisa was missing, and Trevor was nowhere to be found either. Police who responded to the February incident said that while there was still an active investigation going on, no arrest was made at the time because the only information they had to go off of were the couple's conflicting statements. Now, police wasted no time. A massive search was underway. Where were Alisa and Trevor? On Sunday, March 12th, Alisa Summers was still missing, and her family and friends made sure her picture was circulated far and wide. Her divorce attorney, Stephen Glaros, told the Tampa Bay Times that fears for Alisa's safety were growing. "Obviously, we're very concerned for our client," he said. "She has expressed lots of fear of her husband." He also said he was concerned that Alisa would willingly go visit Trevor. She had often noted her fear of being alone with him, and Glaros raised this as a red flag. The February incident wasn't the first time things had gotten scary. The couple, who had met in high school, had issues stemming from October 2016, when Alisa made various attempts to leave Trevor for good. He barred her from leaving their family home several times during that month, and even followed her to a friend's house where she was attempting to stay. At this time, Alisa had filed a domestic violence injunction, but it was dismissed by a court in November. The couple had been married for 16 years, but the relationship met a rocky end, and in December 2016, Alisa filed for divorce. Another surprise for investigators was that Trevor was in a lot of legal and financial trouble outside of his divorce proceedings. It was now Sunday, and in 4 days' time, he was set to be sentenced after pleading guilty to a wire fraud and conspiracy scheme in Philadelphia. Before Alisa went missing and Trevor was nowhere to be found, he had faced charges by federal prosecutors for falsely claiming to hold patents he didn't own. As a result, he was accused of, and pleaded guilty to, defrauding investors out of $345,000. He was facing up to 4 years in prison, and according to Glaros, the divorce proceedings had been put on hold until the sentencing was complete. The February 21st restraining order Alisa had filed against Trevor had been granted. Trevor was not allowed to be near Alisa or her home, an order he had obviously violated. It seemed as if Trevor's life was falling apart fast. The search for Alisa was growing more concerning. As Monday, March 13th rolled around, there was still no sign of Alisa or Trevor. Until around 10 a.m., when investigators got the one phone call they had been hoping for. A citizen had spotted the dark blue Saturn Outlook down a dirt road near a marina. The citizen had followed the car for almost 2 miles until it pulled into the parking garage of a home. Investigators soon swarmed the house. Alisa Summers emerged from the vehicle with wounds on her wrist. Trevor needed more persuasion to exit and resisted arrest. He had a stab wound near his neck. He eventually allowed an ambulance to transport him to a nearby hospital for treatment. At the time of his arrest, Trevor admitted to taking Alisa against her will and holding her captive. Alisa was hysterical, but she was finally safe. Trevor was arrested for kidnapping, grand theft, and violating the domestic violence injunction. Sheriff David G. of Hillsborough County gave a press conference later that day, explaining that not only had Trevor kidnapped Alisa, but unbeknownst to their children, he had tricked them into helping him. He said Alisa was completely distraught and that it would likely take a while before investigators would be able to get more details about the case. With Alisa back home safe, all eyes were on Trevor. On March 20th, he was brought before the judge for a bond hearing. All 5 of the Summers children had been handed over to state custody while the investigation was underway. Alisa was in court that day, determined to keep her almost ex-husband behind bars. No bond was set for Trevor.
I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to be here. I wanted to see for sure that he was not getting out, that he was going to be behind bars and stay there. This situation is dangerous. It's dangerous to any woman that's in domestic abuse. Your situation is dangerous. Take it seriously.
Even though Trevor would be staying behind bars, Alisa's fight for freedom was still not over. She would have to go to family court in order to get her kids back. She expressed her happiness at simply being alive and credited her strong faith to being able to one day forgive Trevor. Trevor himself wasn't giving up without a fight. He too petitioned for full custody of his 5 children, a request that was swiftly denied. Their divorce became final on April 25th, 2017. But Trevor's trial would take much longer. He reportedly continued to find ways to delay the court process, including firing multiple attorneys. The rest of 2017 flew by. In 2018, Trevor complained to a judge about being mistreated in jail. His attorney at the time, Julian Hayes, told the local judge that the way Trevor was treated by jailhouse guards could only be described as cruel and unusual. The judge had no sympathy for Trevor, who was already violating rules set by the court. Despite being ordered by a judge in April 2017 to cease contact with his ex-wife and children, he managed to do so anyways. His visitors would reportedly regularly transport notes from him to his children. The judge refused to get involved in the dispute between Trevor and the guards. In February 2018, Alisa married a man named Jeffrey Mathewson, the same man she had been beginning to date when the events of March 11th unfolded. She changed her name and said her newfound freedom made her feel safe during the court proceedings. When Trevor was in the same room, "He can't hurt me anymore," she said. But she would come much closer to him in the courtroom, face to face, in fact, than she ever could have imagined. On August 22nd, 2022, 5 years after the incident, Trevor Summers' trial finally began. The proceedings took place in Tampa, Florida. Months before the trial began, Trevor made the decision to defend himself. But on the morning of the trial, he changed his mind. In what appeared to be a last-ditch effort to delay the trial once again, he asked for a postponement, citing that he was not prepared to represent himself quite yet. The judge explained that if he were to represent himself, he would have limited opportunity to consult with a standby lawyer during the proceedings. Travis then decided to allow attorney Anthony Marchese to help him in a limited capacity. Jennifer Johnson gave the opening statement for the prosecution.
Between March 11th of 2017 and March 13th of 2017, Alisa Summers thought she was living out the last few days of her life. She believed that the defendant, Trevor Summers, was going to kill her. And he didn't attempt one time to kill her during those days. He attempted twice.
She told the jury that by the end of 2016, Alisa had given up on her marriage to Trevor and was trying to rebuild her life. She and Trevor had been married for 16 years and had 5 children together. She told the jury about the restraining order Alisa had been granted just weeks before the kidnapping.
Just 2.5 weeks before the March incidents occurred, she obtained a restraining order, a protective order, where the defendant knew he was not to be near Alisa Summers or her home. But on March 11th of 2017, he ignored that protective order. And he proceeded to utilize his 12-year-old and 14-year-old's feelings about the divorce. They're typical teenagers who they were upset that their parents were going to get divorced, that their family was going to change. He played on their feelings with that, and he convinced them to help him get into her home in the early morning hours of March 11th.
She said Trevor convinced the two oldest children that the couple was on the brink of mending their marriage. He convinced their 14-year-old, whom we'll call A, to leave a window open so he could come in and talk to Alisa to convince her to make them a family again. A had been staying at Alisa's house. Meanwhile, Trevor and their 12-year-old, whom we'll call L, left Trevor's home and made their way over, leaving their youngest child, who was 3, at home alone. They parked in a parking lot down the street and went to Alisa's house. Prosecutor Johnson said that shortly thereafter, surveillance video shows the two oldest kids, A and L, leaving the home. She said Trevor had instructed them to get in his car and wait nearby, and then texted them with updates.
He proceeds to enter Alisa Summers' home while she is sleeping in her bedroom with her 5-year-old and 7-year-old. And you will see the text messaging that continues about what he's doing in the home of Alisa Summers and how he is going to try to wake her up and convince her to come back home.
She said Alisa woke up to a person she couldn't see in her dark bedroom and began screaming.
The defendant takes her feet, pulls her out of the bedroom and down the hallway into the family room.
The other two kids woke up. They were crying and upset, concerned for their mom. Trevor told them to go back in the bedroom. For the next few hours, Trevor held Alisa captive in the living room. Text messages show that sometime before 6 a.m., Trevor told A that he needed more time, but that he wanted her to take his car, drive over from the parking lot they were in, and pick up the other kids. He said they needed to then go back to his house, where the 3-year-old had been left and would likely be waking up soon. Prosecutor Johnson said 14-year-old A drove from her mom's home to Trevor's home with her 3 young siblings in the car. It's about a 20-minute drive, she said.
The children remain at his home that day. There's some text messaging. They're asking, when are you and mom coming home? All the while, the defendant has Alisa Summers tied up in her home, in her bedroom, where he is talking about he's going to leave. He needs to leave. He's going to catch a boat to go to an island. She is hogtied at points. She is tied with Christmas tree lights, tied down to her bed with rope. He would come into the room, leave, and come back. When she would be able to wriggle out at times, he would tie her down with more ropes.
She said Alisa told Trevor that she would go with him. He packed her suitcase. The plan was to go by his house, say goodbye to the kids, get his suitcase, and then go to a boat he said he had lined up to take them to an island. At some point in the evening, around 8:30, Trevor finally responded to his kids and told them they would be home soon. Shortly before 9 p.m., he tied Alisa up and put her in the car. While in the vehicle, she was able to get out while they were in the Walgreens parking lot.
After the Walgreens incident, the defendant was not very happy because now he was not going to get to go say goodbye to the children. He wasn't going to be able to get his suitcase. He takes Alisa Summers a ways down the road, out of the car, gets mad at her, ties her then to the seat with the rope, and proceeds to drive around in her vehicle for quite some time, heading south. They proceed down to Manatee County, where they remain in a secluded area in a field underneath a tree in order to not be located by law enforcement for the night of March 11th of 2017.
She said they were getting low on food and gas, and so they went to a McDonald's and a Citgo. She said they laid low the rest of the weekend, and by Monday, they ended up driving around on a dirt road in search of a safe house where Trevor said they would eventually board a boat. They were unable to find it. This led them to the Ruskin neighborhood area, where they were eventually found across the bay from Tampa. She told the jury that Trevor wrote suicide letters.
A confession letter of what took place on March 11th, 2017 at her home. Writes a surrender of his parental rights. Writes letters that Ms. Summers is to get his car, the money in his bank account, in his home. And a letter that he wrote to his children. A letter that he wrote before the second attempted homicide incident. You will get to see that letter. You will get to make the determination what kind of letter that was.
She said at some point, Alisa made a comment about his parents when he said he was going to write a letter to them too. She asked why he would do that when they were involved in her kidnapping. She said at the time, Trevor had lied to Alisa and told her his parents had come and picked up the kids. After Alisa made that comment, Johnson said Trevor attempted to kill her.
And at that point, the defendant gets mad that Alisa Summers makes that comment. He takes the rope that she was tied up with and proceeds to pull it around her neck. Alisa Summers, while her hands are tied, she's able to stop it as he is trying to pull that rope and strangle her around her neck.
She said Trevor then spotted a vehicle that was nearing them. He assumed, correctly, that their cover was blown. He took off down the dirt road and pulled into a covered garage. That's where he cut his neck.
As law enforcement surround the vehicle, pull Alisa Summers alive from that vehicle, pull the defendant from the vehicle, place him down on the ground, and detain him while they provide aid to his neck.
Alisa was rescued by police but was in complete shock. She said as Trevor was taken to the hospital to get treatment for his wound, he confessed. Prosecutor Johnson alleged that the crimes were committed because Alisa was moving on with her life, and Trevor couldn't stand the thought of it.
But what he told law enforcement was he didn't do this. He wasn't mad because she was on dating websites or moving on with her life. That's not why he did this. He did it because he was mad she didn't tell him the truth about it.
Defense attorney Anthony Marchese delivered the opening statements for Trevor. He explained to the jury that the next few days would be transformative.
You're going to leave with a feeling of despair in hearing this very tragic story about a family that fell apart.
He said the prosecution's opening statement was nothing more than a story.
It is the state's theory of what happened. A lot of it is true. A lot of it is also verified by Mr. Summers when he makes a statement. But we also have to follow the law. Look at the charges that are against him and see if the facts that you hear from that witness stand match up with the law as you're going to get instructed from the court.
He said that Alisa being held against her will was far from the truth, citing security cameras that show the couple grabbing food at a local McDonald's on that Sunday while the alleged kidnapping was taking place. In what turned out to be a less than 10-minute statement, Marchese told the jury that they were only to go off the information given to them on the stand and nothing else.
Gather the facts, put the facts together with the law, make a conclusion if a crime was committed, what crime that was.
Over the next 4 days, the jury heard the story from beginning to end. Randall Crosby, the Walgreens employee who spotted Alisa's escape attempt and got the license plate for police, took the stand. The couple's daughter, A, now 19, also testified how her father had manipulated her into helping him. Two of the couple's other children also testified, although their memories were a bit foggy. But there was one more curveball no one saw coming. Trevor ended up firing Marchese as his attorney shortly after the opening statements. He would now be representing himself, and his ex-wife and daughter would now be cross-examined by him. Alisa Mathewson was working as an insurance representative when she married her current husband, Jeffrey Mathewson. She detailed for the jury what had happened during the kidnapping. That night, her two youngest kids asked to sleep in bed with her, and she agreed. They went to bed a little before 10 p.m. At 3 a.m., she woke up.
What caused you to wake up?
I was woken suddenly from a deep sleep to water droplets on my face, and when I was trying to get my bearings, I realized there was a dark figure in my bedroom.
Did you have any lights on in your room?
No.
Any light on in the bathroom that's attached to your bedroom?
No.
What did you do when you saw the dark figure?
I started to scream, "Who's in my room? Who's in my house?" The dark figure went up against the wall, leaning against the wall, and I kept screaming. And then I heard a voice say, "Calm down."
Did you recognize that voice?
I did.
And who did you recognize that voice to belong to?
Trevor Summers.
Their two young kids were still in bed with her. When she realized it was Trevor, she reached over to her nightstand and started throwing whatever she could at him.
I always sleep with a cup of water that has a straw in it, and I grabbed that, and through that, there was a box of tissues. So those are the items that are normally on my end table.
What's the next thing that happened?
He grabbed my feet from the end.
And when you say he, is that the defendant?
Yes, Trevor Summers grabbed my feet by my ankles, the end of the bed, and drug me, my full body off of the bed, pulling all the bedding and everything with me.
She explained how Trevor tied her up with rope and Christmas lights. She said she was sexually assaulted by him twice and even rendered unconscious with a pillow.
What was going through your head at that time?
Just need to get through this day. I'll just get through this day.
She said he guided her like a puppet to a room where he would allow her to smoke cigarettes. She said he would hover over her the entire time.
Did you feel like you could run to the front door during this transition from your bedroom to the bedroom that he was going to allow you, from your bedroom to the room that you were going to smoke from?
No.
And was that the kids' playroom or the kids' bedroom?
Kids' playroom.
Were you able to, scream out the window for help or anything like that?
No. He was, again, right there. So if I tried to scream, I didn't feel safe. But also there's nobody that in that proximity from the backyard. You can't see the house behind. There's a large fence.
Did you, when you said it wouldn't be, I think you said safe, what do you mean by that?
I didn't feel safe with him hovering over me, that if I started to scream that then he would hurt me.
After he allowed her to smoke cigarettes, he took her back to the primary bedroom, where she was hog-tied for a few hours. She said he told her that he was planning on disappearing, that he had chartered a boat that would take him out of the country. She said she agreed to go with him to get on the boat, thinking that if she just held on for a few more hours, she could be free. She was eventually transferred to her car and taken from her home. She said after she attempted her escape at Walgreens, Trevor was angry. Once back in the car, he pulled over down the road.
He pulled me out of the car. My hands are tied behind my back. And at this point, this is where he is going to kill me. And
that's what you're thinking at this point?
And they're not going to find my body because this is so secluded and such a wooded area.
So what happens?
So he turned me around and slit my wrist and said, "That's for getting out of the car in the Walgreens." pushed me back into the car, tied me back to the seat, buckled me back in with my hands still tied behind my back.
Do you know what he cut you with?
No.
Did you see anything in his hand?
No.
Were your hands still tied behind your back after he cut your wrist?
Yes.
When he put you in the car, were your hands still tied behind your back?
Yes.
Do you all remain there in the car, or does he drive somewhere else?
Drive somewhere else.
Do you feel that you are bleeding from that wrist cut?
Yes.
Was it both wrists or one wrist?
One wrist.
She said she could feel the bleeding from her wrist and used the back of her shirt to put pressure on it. Trevor then drove into a secluded area and turned down a long dirt road. He finally found a place to park and went to sleep.
Do you go to sleep?
No.
Do you get out of the car?
No.
Why not?
I am in the middle of nowhere. The closest house was completely surrounded by a fence, and there's no way I'm making it running as fast as I could run to get to this house.
Does he threaten you if you get out of the car? Anything's going to happen? Did you see any weapon or anything that he had used to cut you earlier? Anything like that?
He had the razor blade. He sat right there on the center console.
Were your hands tied behind your back?
They were.
Did you go all night with your hands tied behind your back?
I did.
She said he slept for a few hours. He then got out of the car, took the ropes off of her wrists, cut her shirt, and used that as a bandage for her wrist. On the morning of March 13th, Trevor listened to the radio to see if there was any news of her being missing after what had happened at Walgreens. When he didn't hear anything, he drove through the Lakewood Ranch area, and they stopped at a McDonald's drive-thru. She was asked why she didn't escape then, and she said she didn't see any opportunities to. They also stopped at a Citgo, where Trevor got gas. After that, Trevor drove to Anna Maria Island and told her they were looking for a safe house. They saw a police car, and Trevor pulled off to the side of the road. He told her she should stay and take care of the kids instead of coming with him. She said she was relieved and thought it was her opportunity to stay alive. He told her he was going to leave proof that he was leaving voluntarily and leaving her everything.
And so are you agreeing with everything that he's saying to not make him upset?
Yes.
Is that how your relationship was for the past 16 years? Is that you would agree to not cause conflict?
Yes.
And so were you continuing that as you had continued it for the past 16 years?
Yes.
So what did he say he was going to do to show or to prove that he was leaving you everything?
He wrote out a written confession.
Did you ask him to write that?
No. So he wrote that out.
Did you see him write it?
I did see him write it.
Did you read it?
I did.
Did he write anything else?
He wrote a quit claim deed for his home. He wrote some sort of thing for his car, his bank accounts, and then he wrote another letter for the children, and he said it was between him and the kids.
Okay. So the letter for the children, did you ever read that letter?
No.
And at the time that you are in this pull-off in Anna Maria Island, did he write that letter? Did he tell you he was writing that letter?
Yes.
She said he showed her all of the other letters he had written, but not the one to the kids. It would come out in later testimony that letter said, quote, "Should have never went down the road of divorce that tore our family apart. So we have ended it for your sake. We wish you the best in everything you do, and we'll be watching you from heaven." Alisa testified that they continued to drive around, but they couldn't find the house he said they were looking for, and so they left the island. He then took her into a harbor resort area and pulled up behind a dumpster. He told her he needed to write another letter, this one to his parents. She made a comment about them helping him kidnap her, and he grew angry and again tried to kill her. When he calmed down, he told her he would have to get out to international waters before she could be released. They started driving again, and they arrived at a house he said was the safe house.
And he says, there's an unmarked police car right there. And I didn't believe him. At this point,
could you see the vehicle that he's
I did. It looked like an older Chevy Malibu. And so I didn't believe him. And he began slitting his throat and saying, this is what love is. I'm laying my life down for you. You don't deserve this.
What did you do when he was doing that?
I was screaming. It was very traumatic, and the blood and the whole thing was traumatic.
At this point, law enforcement surrounded their vehicle and she was rescued. After the prosecutor was done asking her questions, it was Trevor's turn to question her. Alisa was visibly shaken and rarely faced Trevor during the cross-examination. "Good morning, Mrs. Mathewson," he said. He often spoke in third person and showed zero emotion.
When you say that you were startled awake, do you know... I'm sorry, let me change that. You said then that your feet were grabbed.
Yes.
Is it one ankle or two ankles?
I don't recall.
Did you recall me saying anything about calm down, it's just me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall if you threw any other items?
No.
Do you recall how those items got neatly placed back on a table in a vanity?
No.
Do you recall other items that were on the end tables?
No.
Your Honor, may I publish some of the state's exhibits?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
He published for the jury photos from the inside of her house. He asked her about her computer in the living room that had internet connection and car keys that were hanging on a hook. He pointed to a photo of her bedroom and noted a Kleenex box neatly on her nightstand.
Mrs. Matheson, this is the right side of the bed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You see a variety of articles on the bedside table?
Yes.
Did you attempt to throw any of those items?
No.
No. Are they all kind of in order?
The lower shelves, no, did not touch any of the things on the lower shelf. The side table, yes, those were used throughout the March 11th. I used them to throw the box of tissues. So yes.
Okay. Is anything out of order on this table?
No. I mean, different than when I went to sleep.
It is different than you went to sleep?
The top of the table is different than when I went to sleep.
What's different about the top of the table?
My water cup is not on the side table that I sleep with every single night. The box of tissues is not where it normally is. It's normally against the wall behind the clock.
He asked her what they talked about while in the house for hours.
I didn't do much talking. You can go on and on and on about random nonsense, and it's incoherent nonsense, but you can just go on about it.
Okay. Do you remember specifically what incoherent nonsense I was talking about?
Chartering a boat, money in offshore accounts, going to the island, having a bodyguard to watch me, your parents' involvement, our children, what happened through the marriage. There's many, many, many topics that you could go on for hours about.
Do you remember speaking to me about any offshore accounts? Do you remember questioning me about offshore accounts?
You want to talk about the offshore accounts?
Did you question me about where they are?
There are 2 reasons why I would believe that you had offshore accounts. 2 reasons.
I'm just asking right now if you asked me where those offshore accounts were.
Judge, we're going to need to approach.
After a brief recess, the cross-examination continued. He asked Alisa about how she said he had forced her to have sex with him.
Did I threaten you to have sex?
You broke into my home in the middle of the night when I was sleeping, attacked me and tied me up. I take that as, yes, you threatened me to have sex with you. Yes.
I'm asking you specifically, before we had sex, did I threaten you or force you to have sex with me?
My answer is yes, you forced me to have sex with you.
Did I hold you down?
No.
Did I push you?
Not at that time of having sex, but prior to having sex, you did push me. You did hold me down. You did tie me up. You did attack me, and you did break into my home when I was sleeping. You raped me.
So you're calling it rape?
It is. That is the definition of rape, to come into someone's home and attack them and tie them up and then have sex with them. That is the definition of rape.
Did you know I was coming to your house?
No.
He then brought up the look she had testified on direct that he gave her as he tried to smother her with a pillow.
You left. I waited, trying to figure out what to do, how to get free, and then after some time, I started wiggling and trying to get free, and you opened the door, and you came in, and you put the pillow over my face with full force.
Okay. In your statement here in this courtroom, you said that the look on my face was of death or of murder.
Evil and hatred.
How do you... I'm sorry, no, I believe your statement was that you knew I was going to kill you when you saw my face. Correct?
Yes.
How did you know what was in my heart? How did you know what was in my mind?
All I saw was an expression of evil and hatred. And at that time, my thought is, he's here to kill me. I'm going to die.
So you believed, your thought is that?
Yes.
But you can't say that that's what my intention was.
No, I cannot.
He asked her if she said the same thing to detectives, and she said she was in shock and can't recall. He asked if when she ran away from Walgreens, if she knew for sure her hands were tied.
100% my hands were tied.
So would you have made any contrary statement to law enforcement?
No.
Would you have said that you pushed the unlock button on the door?
No. Would
you have said that you grabbed the door unlock knob and lifted it up?
I may have, but I used my hands behind my back and used to get the door open.
And you managed to do that without falling out on your back or your head?
I can't recall.
Well, let's think about it. If you're leaning against the door with your hands behind your back and you pull the knob and it opens, how do you prevent yourself from falling on your head?
I can't recall whether I stumbled down, stood back up. I can't recall that. All I know is I got that door open and I got out.
He then asked her about where he was seated when he cut his throat.
Did I ask you to drive me to the hospital after my neck was cut?
No.
Why was I in the passenger seat?
Because you went from the driver's seat and you climbed over into the passenger seat so you could turn and look at me while you slit your throat and said crazy speak like, I'm laying my life down for you. You don't deserve this.
Was I mad at you?
Yes, you were furious.
What was I mad about?
that I got out of the car at the Walgreens, that you're getting caught, that all of it.
When their daughter A took the stand, she wasn't videoed during court proceedings for privacy reasons.
When was the last time that you saw and spoke to Trevor Summers?
The last time I saw and spoke to him was March 11th of 2017.
She said at the time of the incident, she was primarily living with her father because she was upset that her mom had begun dating again. She said Trevor often asked her for details about Alisa's new life, including asking her to snoop through her mother's purse for birth control pills. On the night of March 10th, 2017, A was planning on spending the night at her mother's house with two of her siblings. Her other siblings were with Trevor at the time.
Was there a plan that was to take place that night when you were at your mom's?
Yes.
What was the plan?
The plan was to let my dad into my mom's house so he could speak to her about some stuff.
And whose idea was this for you to let him in the house?
This was my dad's idea.
Did you agree to do that?
Yes.
Did you know why he wanted to go in the house to speak to your mother?
He only told me that he wanted to speak to her about some legal stuff.
Okay. And did you agree to participate in this plan with him?
Yes.
A said she was very protective of her father. She communicated with him during the night of March 10th, taking cues on what to do next and letting him know when everyone in the house was asleep.
Why is it that you were going to have to let your dad in, or Trevor Summers in in the house? Why couldn't he just come during normal hours that someone would come to the house?
I don't remember if there was ever an actual reason I was given.
Okay.
She recounted how Trevor entered the home and then she left to wait in his nearby car alongside her brother, L. A said she believed at the time that this was all part of a brilliant plan to get her parents back together. Her father, Trevor, then questioned her.
You said I seemed calm when I came to the car.
I don't really remember, but that's what I remember from it, yes.
Okay. And when I sent you a text saying that Mom was coming home, you knew that I was coming home as well?
Yes.
And what did you think about your mother coming home?
I was happy about that.
Why were you happy about that?
No kid wants their parents to get divorced.
Two of their other children took the stand. Their accounts were similar to A's with less detailed information. They were 12 and 3 at the time of the incident. The jury was presented with 2 videos by the prosecution, which showed Trevor admitting to the crimes. Alisa had testified that these were filmed in between the sexual assaults. In the first video, Trevor admits that he snapped. "It's just something that I can't deal with," he said. "I am sorry for being aggressive with her. She's virtually unharmed." But then he admitted that Alisa had a couple of bruises. The second video was Trevor addressing the couple's 2 oldest kids. He said the things Alisa had told them about how he's good at manipulation and lying are true. He admitted to tying her up that day and said he doesn't know what's broken in his head, but that he needs to go away and sort it out. Travis himself never took the stand. In his closing arguments, Trevor said that Alisa's answers to his questions were over the top and outrageous, exaggerated and impossible. He said her statements were not true about her having been sexually assaulted. He also tried to discredit Randall Crosby, saying that although he witnessed something transpire in the parking lot, he was unable to tell the jury what clothes either he or Alisa were wearing, and therefore couldn't fully be trusted. In their closing arguments, the prosecutor called Trevor a scorned lover who had caused Alisa much trauma. He insisted that Trevor was not able to come to grips with his pending divorce and made damning decisions as a result. On August 26, 2022, Trevor was found guilty on all 11 charges by an all-male jury after just 5 hours of deliberations. He was found guilty of charges including attempted first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual battery, child neglect, grand theft auto, and violating a protection order. During the reading of the verdict, Trevor had no reaction. His sentencing hearing was held on Monday, October 3rd, 2022. The judge called Trevor's decision to represent himself during the trial born of pure evil. Given the circumstances of this case, the testimony and evidence that I have heard clearly make you a monster in every stretch of the imagination, he said. Victim impact statements were read before the court, notably from 3 of the Summers children, along with Alisa and her mom. Her mom described how her former son-in-law was narcissistic, controlling, and lying. He was always working a scheme to make money, she said, referencing the fraud case out of Philadelphia, a crime Trevor still has yet to be sentenced for. For years, Mr. Summers found himself in situation after situation, she said, and it was never, ever his fault. Alisa detailed the trauma she and her 5 kids faced because of Trevor's actions. She told the court that although Trevor caused them great pain, she was happy to report that her love for their children overpowered his evil intentions. 3 of the 5 children spoke, detailing the harrowing journey they had been through. One child, who was just 3 at the time, described experiencing flashbacks of the events. Now 20-year-old A spoke of the guilt she carried for having had left the window open for Trevor. And when it was Trevor's turn to speak, he said he was sad and remorseful about the events that transpired. But his biggest regret, he said, was the way his children now felt about him. The judge sentenced him to life in prison and said he hoped the sentence would bring a sense of peace to the family. Mr. Trevor Summers will spend the rest of his life in Florida State Prison, he said. And that's all for this episode. As always, I'd love to know what you think about this case. You can let me know by finding me on Twitter at CourtJunkiePod, by joining the conversation on Instagram at CourtJunkie, or by emailing me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. This episode was researched and written by Law and Crime staff. If you'd like to hear these episodes without the ads, check out my Patreon options at courtjunkie.com/support. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.